Sri Lanka says it has requested emergency financial help from the International Monetary Fund as bailout talks got underway on Monday. The global financial organization will consider providing the assistance after representations by neighboring India. Now, here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
A leading rating agency warned that Sri Lanka will see a series of defaults on its foreign debts after officials said it would halt payments. It comes as Moody's downgraded its assessment of bonds sold by Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan officials, led by Finance Minister Ali Sabry, are in Washington this week for talks with the IMF as the South Asian nation faces its worst economic crisis in more than 70 years. At a meeting, the IMF commented on the steps already taken by Sabry to mitigate the financial situation in Sri Lanka. Last week, the Sri Lankan government said it would temporarily default on $35.5 billion on its foreign debt as the pandemic and the war in Ukraine made it impossible to make payments to overseas creditors. Meanwhile, a Rolls-Royce design for a small modular nuclear reactor will likely receive UK regulatory approval by mid-2024 and be able to produce grid power by 2029. The British government asked its nuclear regulator to start the approval process in March, having backed Rolls-Royce's $546 million funding round in November to develop the country's first reactor. Policymakers hope modular reactors will help cut dependence on fossil fuels and lower carbon emissions. Finally, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Moody has told US President Joe Biden that India was ready to ship food to the rest of the world following supply shocks and rising prices due to the war in Ukraine. Moody says India had enough food for its 1.4 billion people and it was ready to supply food stocks to the world from tomorrow if the World Trade Organization allowed. Russia and Ukraine are two of the world's major wheat exporters and account for about a third of the global annual wheat sales. The two countries also account for 55% of the global annual sunflower oil exports and 17% of exports of maize and barley. Together, they were expected to export 14 million tons of wheat and over 16 million tons of maize this year, according to FAO.